Life often surprises us with unexpected moments that force us to pause and reflect on what truly matters. For David, a wealthy businessman accustomed to luxury and convenience, such moments rarely occurred. However, one scorching summer day on a deserted country road, a small incident opened the door to a profound lesson he would never forget. David's sleek SUV glided smoothly along the narrow road, leaving a trail of dust behind. Although the clear blue sky and the peaceful countryside stretched endlessly on either side, his mind was entirely consumed by the tasks awaiting him at the office. His packed schedule left no room for distractions or relaxation. For David, success was measured by speed, efficiency, and control over everything around him. But life has its own way of reminding us that not everything goes according to plan. A loud pop shattered the calm, jolting the vehicle and sending vibrations through the frame. The rhythmic thumping of a flat tire broke the stillness of the road. "Perfect. Just perfect," David muttered, glancing quickly at his watch. He hastily pulled the car over, stepping out into the oppressive heat. The road shimmered in the sun's glare, and the heat radiating from the asphalt made the air feel suffocating. Dressed in an expensive suit and tie, David felt out of place in the rustic setting. The tire on the right side had completely blown out, with shredded rubber scattered across the ground. He shook his head in frustration and pulled out his phone, only to discover there was no signal. Standing there helplessly, David felt a rare sense of vulnerability. For a man like him, handling trivial issues like a flat tire was almost unimaginable. In his world, there was always someone to take care of such inconveniences: assistants, chauffeurs, or service crews. But here, on this lonely stretch of road, he was utterly alone. As he stood under the unrelenting sun, a memory from years ago surfaced. He recalled a time in his youth when he had been stranded by the roadside with a broken-down car. Back then, everyone who passed by ignored him, avoiding eye contact and offering no assistance. The cold indifference of strangers had left a lasting mark on him, fostering a bitterness that shaped his dislike for relying on others. Just as the oppressive heat seemed unbearable, a small figure emerged in the distance. A boy, no more than 14 years old, wearing a faded t-shirt and worn-out sneakers, approached with a confident stride. The boy's bright smile and determined expression stood out against the harsh backdrop. "Having trouble with your car, mister?" the boy called out cheerfully. David hesitated, then replied, "Yeah, flat tire. I don't know how to change it." "I can do it. My dad taught me," the boy responded confidently. His assured tone caught David off guard. Accustomed to skepticism and caution, David found himself unsure how to react. Yet with no other choice, he stepped aside, watching as the boy quickly assessed the situation and got to work. Within minutes, the boy had retrieved the tools and spare tire, working with skill and precision that belied his young age. David stood awkwardly nearby, feeling both impressed and uneasy. He wasn't used to being on the receiving end of such unsolicited help. When the job was done, David reached for his wallet, pulling out a wad of cash. "Here, take this. Thank you for your help," he said, extending the money toward the boy. The boy smiled but shook his head, stepping back. "No, sir. I don't need it. I just wanted to help." With a quick wave, the boy turned and walked away, leaving David standing by his car, holding the cash he had intended to give. As David drove away, his thoughts lingered on the boy's actions. An act of kindness with no expectation of reward, it was a concept so foreign to his world. For the first time in years, David felt something stir within him. It was difficult to articulate, but it felt significant. Lucas, a boy with a simple appearance but bright eyes, quickly got to work after David agreed to let him help. Without hesitation, he opened the trunk, searching for tools and a spare tire. His movements were swift and skilled, as if he had done this many times before. David stood nearby, watching with a mix of curiosity and unease. He, a man used to others solving his problems, now found himself being helped by a boy who seemed so willing to lend a hand. Under the scorching sun, Lucas patiently removed each bolt, using all his strength to fit the new tire in place. Sweat glistened on his brow, but the smile on his face never faded. "Don't worry, sir, it'll be done in no time," Lucas said confidently, as if to reassure David. David remained silent, his eyes fixed on Lucas's every move. He couldn't help but feel a bit awkward. It was the first time someone had offered to help him without asking for anything in return. This feeling of dependency was unfamiliar to him, yet he felt a growing sense of admiration for the boy. When the job was done, Lucas stood up, dusted off his clothes, and smiled at David. "All done. You're good to go now," he said. Still in disbelief, David quickly reached for his wallet, pulling out a wad of cash. "Here, take this. Thank you for your help," he said, extending the money toward Lucas. But Lucas shook his head, stepping back. "No, sir, I don't need it. I just wanted to help." With a quick wave, the boy turned and walked away, leaving David standing there, the cash still in his hand. That night, even after returning home, David couldn't stop thinking about Lucas. The boy's selfless act of kindness played over and over in his mind. For the first time in years, David felt small in the face of something so simple yet so profound. He couldn't help but wonder, how long had it been since he last helped someone without expecting anything in return? The next morning, David couldn't resist the urge to return to the road where he had met Lucas. As he drove, he kept picturing the boy's bright smile and genuine demeanor. After some searching, he found Lucas's house, a small, modest home tucked away amidst green fields. The house was run down, with rusty metal sheets for a roof, peeling walls, and a dusty yard. Lucas was playing with his younger sister in the yard, while his mother, Sarah, was washing clothes outside. Watching this simple scene, David felt a warmth he hadn't experienced in a long time. "Hello, ma'am. My name is David. Lucas helped me with a flat tire yesterday. I wanted to come back to thank him," David said, approaching Sarah. Sarah, a kind and gentle woman, smiled warmly and invited him inside. "Please come in. Lucas mentioned you last night. He was so happy he could help." David stepped into the small house, which was modest but clean. On a worn wooden table, Sarah placed a simple breakfast in front of him, scrambled eggs and toast. "It's nothing fancy, but I hope you don't mind," she said with a sincere smile. David was deeply moved. He could feel the warmth and hospitality in every gesture, every look shared between Lucas and his family. In that moment, he realized he had lost something precious in his life: the ability to appreciate the little things, the genuine moments that no amount of money could buy. After leaving Lucas's house, David couldn't shake the thought of their humble living conditions. The house was falling apart, yet it was filled with love and optimism. He decided he needed to do something meaningful for them. The next day, David hired a construction crew to repair Lucas's house. Over the following weeks, he regularly visited the site, supervising the work and spending time with Lucas and his family. The renovation process not only improved their living conditions, but also began to change David's perspective on life. Lucas, as always, enthusiastically participated in the repairs. His energy was contagious, lifting the spirits of everyone around him, from the workers to David himself. For Lucas, the repairs weren't a burden, but an opportunity to create something beautiful. "A nicer house will make my mom happier," Lucas said, his eyes shining with hope. The way the boy cared for his mother and sister, the way he always tried to help others, deeply touched David. David found himself spending more and more time with Lucas's family, not just to oversee the construction, but to understand their lives better. Every time he watched Lucas playing with his sister or helping his mother, he became more aware of the true value of family bonds, something he had overlooked for so long. Throughout the renovations, David even started helping with small tasks, like carrying materials or cleaning up. He felt himself becoming more connected to Lucas and his family. This wasn't just about paying back a favor anymore. It was about forming a bond. David wasn't just helping Lucas's family. He was helping himself rediscover a lost sense of purpose. After several weeks, the renovation was complete. What had once been a dilapidated house was now a warm and sturdy home. On the final day, as the work was finished, Lucas ran to David and hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Mr. David. You've helped my family so much," he said. David smiled and patted Lucas on the head. "No, Lucas, it's you who has helped me. You've taught me the most important lesson of all. Life isn't just about taking, it's about giving." That day, as David drove away from Lucas's home, he felt a sense of peace he hadn't felt in years. He knew this journey wasn't just about changing Lucas's life. It was about transforming his own. Lucas's act of kindness had set off a chain reaction, teaching David the profound power of generosity and compassion, things he had long forgotten in his high-pressure, materialistic world. This experience left David with a renewed sense of purpose. He had always thought that success was measured by wealth and achievements, but now he understood that the most valuable successes were found in the connections we build and the kindness we share. For Lucas and his family, the newly repaired house was more than just a place to live. It was a testament to the impact of a single act of kindness. For David, it was the start of a new chapter, one where he prioritized people over profit, relationships over results, and kindness over control. As he looked back at the journey that brought him here, David realized he was no longer the man who had stood helplessly by the roadside, frustrated and impatient. He had grown, not just in understanding but in heart. And it all began with a boy who refused to take money for a simple act of kindness. When the house was finally completed, it seemed to radiate warmth and joy. The new metal roof gleamed under the sunlight, the sturdy walls stood proudly, and the cleaned-up front yard gave the home a fresh, welcoming look. The renovations had transformed the rundown house into a true haven, not just in terms of physical structure but also in spirit and meaning. Lucas ran around the house, his eyes sparkling with happiness. He looked at the new walls and sturdy windows, then turned to David, his voice quivering with emotion. "Mr. David, I don't even know how to thank you. I hope that one day I'll be able to help others the way you've helped my family." David smiled warmly, gently placing a hand on the boy's shoulder. "Lucas, you've taught me the most valuable lesson of all. Life isn't just about receiving, it's about giving. Your kindness reminded me of that. You have a strong, compassionate heart. Never lose that." Nearby, Sarah stood silently, taking in the sight of the newly renovated home. Tears welled up in her eyes as she approached David, clasping his hands in hers. Her voice trembled with gratitude. "I don't know how to express my thanks. Thank you, not just for the house, but for everything you've done for my family." David humbly replied, "Mrs. Sarah, your family has helped me more than I could have imagined. These days I've spent here have taught me lessons I couldn't have learned in my previous life. Your love and sincerity have changed how I see the world." Afterward, the group gathered on the porch of the newly repaired house, enjoying a simple yet heartwarming meal Sarah had prepared. The cheerful conversations and laughter filled the air, breaking the quiet of the small village. David realized this was the feeling he had been missing in his busy life, the connection and joy that come from the simplest of things. As he prepared to leave, David turned to look at the house one more time. He felt a deep sense of fulfillment and happiness, unlike anything he had experienced before. This wasn't just a renovation, it was a symbol of transformation, not only for Lucas's family, but also for himself. This journey had been about more than just helping a family. It had been a process of rediscovering what truly mattered in life. David now understood that even the smallest acts of kindness had the power to change lives, not just for the recipient, but also for the giver. "Lucas," David said as he bid farewell, "promise me that one day you'll continue to spread this kindness to others who need it." "I promise, Mr. David," Lucas replied, his eyes shining with determination. If this story has touched your heart, subscribe to Life Stories 365 to never miss another meaningful tale. This isn't just a channel for sharing stories. It's a place to inspire compassion, empathy, and the motivation to make a positive difference in the world. Let's spread love together and create beautiful stories, because even the smallest acts of kindness can spark life-changing transformations.